between Mrs. Newman, between Mrs. Sneiderman and Mr. Newman, who was the initiating party in each of those? And I call them strings. I'm not sure if that's what you call when somebody sends an email, somebody replies, and you can have 4, 5, 6, however many.
Right.
Who was the original sender in all of those strings of emails?
Mr. Newman?
Okay. She didn't initiate any of them?
No.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be released and excused from her subpoena? Do you want her to remain under subpoena?
I'm going to need the witness to remain under subpoena for
That's fine.
potential recall, Your Honor.
Not a problem. Although I tried to release you before, but you got to stay in town for a while, okay? You can come down at this point in time, but don't go to Jackson Hawksfield Airport, okay? All right. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Detective Nathaniel McManus.
All right.
Your Honor, may we approach
Sure,
one
come on up, lawyers. Not a problem.
other witness coming in?
All right, before you administer the oath, and I know the media is present and the media remain present, I've been advised by the state, Mr. Media Representative, that this person may work in an undercover capacity. They've asked me to make an inquiry or a direction for you not to videotape his face because he works in an undercover capacity. I'm not controlling you, I'm not controlling the media, but I'm directing you to videotape his face for the purpose of this
He's a detective from law.
matter. All right. You may proceed, Mr. Deputy.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to the court today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. You may lower your hand, you may be seated. Sir, if you would, please state and spell your name for the record.
Detective Nathaniel McManus,
Detective, I'm sorry.
M-C-M-A-N-U-S.
Detective McManus, what is your current employment? Where do you work?
I'm a detective with the Longmont Police Department, Longmont, Colorado.
Longmont, Colorado. And can you tell the jurors, please, where is Longmont, Colorado in relation to another major city or other identifying?
It's about an hour north of Denver.
You are a detective. How long have you been a detective with the Longmont Police Department?
I've been a detective with the police department for 5 years, a little over 5 years.
And how long have you been employed with the Longmont Police
Let me
Department?
correct that. I've been employed for a little over 5 years. I've been a detective for a little over 2.5.
Can you tell the jurors just a little bit about what your duties and responsibilities are? What do you do?
I'm currently assigned to the Special Enforcement Unit. We work major crimes and narcotics offenses.
All right. Do you have occasion at times to become involved in an investigation outside the jurisdiction of the Longmont Police Department?
Yes, on a regular occasion.
Okay. Were you asked to do anything in connection with the investigation into the murder of Rusty Sneiderman?
Yes, I was.
Please tell the jurors what you were asked to do.
Investigator Rosenthal contacted our department and requested some follow-up investigation.
Let me stop you right there a minute. Investigator Rosenthal, did you know or have an idea of what agency was asking you to perform this task?
Yes, the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office.
The DeKalb County District Attorney's Office? Okay, I'm sorry. And what specifically were you asked to do?
To do some follow-up investigation. When I talked to Investigator Rosenthal, he asked that...
I'm going to stop you. Please don't... I'm going to ask you a different question. Please don't tell me what Detective or Investigator Rosenthal said. Just please tell me what you did. as a result of the request he made?
Okay, so the request was to contact a couple of hotels in the area to do some follow-up with the hotels in person. Some of the hotels didn't want to release the information without an officer being present in person.
Is that kind of thing a common request, or not an uncommon request from an agency, law enforcement agency that's outside the area?
No, it is not an uncommon request.
Okay. All right, so what then did you do after receiving this request? Where specifically did you go?
I went to the Hampton Inn on South Main Street there in Longmont.
That's South Main Street in Longmont, Colorado?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I made contact with the managers there.
All right. Were you looking for information, let me ask you, what kind of information were you looking for from the Hampton Inn in Longmont, Colorado?
The detailed records of Ms. Sneiderman's stay and any correspondence involving Mr. Newman.
Okay. Were you able to obtain any registration or other documents noting the registration of the defendant?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what time period it was that the defendant was registered as a guest in the hotel, the Hampton Inn in Longmont, Colorado?
It was I believe it was the middle of July.
July what year?
I'd have to look at the report to verify.
You may approach.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as State Exhibit number 22. Do you recognize State Exhibit number 22?
I do.
Okay, what is that?
It is our case report.
Okay, and your case report, is that something that you prepared?
Yes.
Is that a report just detailing the information that you obtained and the steps you took?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to read to yourself or use State's Exhibit number 22 to help you, if it does, refresh your memory about the time period that you obtained documents for the stay that Mrs. Sneiderman had in the Longmont, Colorado Hampton Inn.
Okay.
Is your memory refreshed?
Yes.
Okay, what time period were we talking about?
So the stay was in 2010.
And what were the dates? Do you have specific dates in July?
I did the 18th through the 23rd.
Okay. Did you make any inquiry about whether any other individual was a registered guest at the Hampton Inn in Longmont, Colorado
Yes.
during the relevant time period?
Yes.
Okay. And who did you ask for information about?
Mr. Jaime Newman.
Okay. Hemi Newman, does that sound familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay. What was the response when you asked them to check their records to see if a Hemi Newman was registered at the hotel?
I'm going to interpose an objection. This is obvious hearsay. Witness is being asked, what was the response, or what did someone else tell?
Response.
I'll ask a different question. Your Honor.
Sustain that objection. You want to rephrase?
I will. Did you obtain, as a result of your inquiry, did you obtain any information from the Hampton Inn about a registration for a Hemi Newman?
No, there wasn't one.
Did you speak with an employee beyond the manager that you told the jury about?
Yes.
Do you remember the name of that individual?
I spoke to several.
Do you recall their names, or can you use your report, State's Exhibit number 22, to refresh your recollection if you don't know?
And you're asking aside from the managers?
I am, and I'm going to ask you more particularly, does the name Brady Blackburn sound familiar to you?
Yes,
Okay. Without telling me what he said, did you have a conversation with Mr. Blackburn?
I did.
Okay, and did Mr. Blackburn provide information to you?
He did.
Without telling me again what he said, did Mr. Blackburn have a recollection of the events that you were asking about?
Yes, he
No,
did.
no, again, I'm going to object. The fact that Mr. Blackburn had a recollection is in fact hearsay itself.
Yeah, I'm going to sustain that objection. You want to rephrase these questions, Councilman?
I'll move on, Your Honor.
All right.
Did you obtain any documentation from the Hampton Inn in Longmont, Colorado, other than the registration documents that we've already talked about?
Yes.
What other documentation did you obtain?
So there was some detailed stay records along with a notebook that was kept behind the front counter for the clerks.
Okay. And once you obtained that logbook, as you referred to it, what did you do with it?
I placed it in our evidence.
And then what happened to it?
It was eventually forwarded to the DA's office here in DeKalb County.
All right. Did you have any contact with any other hotel in Longmont, Colorado at the request of Investigator Rosenthal?
Yes.
What other hotel did you have contact with?
There were actually two. So I had contact with the Holiday Inn and the contact with the Plaza Hotel.
And can you just tell the jurors a little bit, how large is Longmont, Colorado?
It's about 90,000 people.
90,000?
90,000, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Would you describe it as a tourist attraction?
No.
Do you get a lot of out-of-state visitors in town?
We do as a result of the industry in town, yes.
And what's the industry in town?
We have several computer manufacturers, American General, Seagate.
Are there, can you estimate for us how many, let me ask a different question. What other hotel did you go to? You said the Holiday Inn?
Yes.
Okay. Without telling me what it was, did you obtain any information from the Holiday Inn in Longmont, Colorado?
Yes.
Was that any information relating to the
Your
defendant?
Honor, I am going to object. This man is now apparently testifying about business records from the Holiday Inn. I don't believe he is an employee of the Holiday Inn. I don't believe he can testify, and I would object. I'm
going to sustain that objection. You want to rephrase that question?
I will, Your Honor, and I will refer counsel in the court to OCGA 24A803.
You may.
That's exception to the history of subsection 6 about the absence of records. And I'll ask my question in a slightly different way.
Well, if you laid a foundation, we can talk about absence of records.
Thank you, Your Honor. What other, if any, hotel did you have any communication with related to the request for assistance from the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office?
The Holiday Inn.
The Holiday Inn?
Yes.
Any other hotel in Longmont, Colorado?
Yes.
What other hotel?
Plaza Hotel.
Do you recall the address of the Plaza Hotel?
It's Ken Pratt Boulevard, but I don't know the specific address.
And which of these hotels, if any, is in close proximity to the Hampton Inn in Longmont, Colorado?
The Plaza would be the closest, the next closest.
After contacting the hotels that you've identified, did you provide any other documentation or records to the District Attorney's Office?
Yes.
What was that?
The records provided by the Holiday Inn, detailed stay records, and there were no records from the Plaza.
Let me ask you, Detective McManus, how long have you lived or worked in Longmont, Colorado?
I don't live in Longmont. I've worked there for 5 years.
Okay. Are you familiar with a restaurant called the Fong Garden?
Yes,
Is it still in existence now?
it is.
Was it open for business, if you know, in July of 2010?
I believe that it was, yes.
How far is the Fong Garden restaurant from the Hampton Inn in Longmont, Colorado, if you know?
Approximately a mile, maybe a little more.
Thank you, Detective.
Mr. Clegg, you may examine if you wish.
Let me just make sure, sir. How many hotels are there in Longmont?
Probably close to a dozen, 8 to 10 maybe.
I'm sorry.
8 to 10 maybe a dozen.
10, okay. And are they all in reasonably close proximity to one another?
Well, that would be relative. What is reasonably close in your
Fair
book?
enough, sir. Are they within a mile or two of each other?
No.
Okay. From the farthest east to the farthest west or north and south, how far are they away from one another?
5, 6, maybe 7 miles.
Okay. So within that 5 to 6 mile area, there are 8, 10, maybe even a dozen hotels, right?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have anything else. Thanks so much.
Ms. Cross, any additional questions? Is there Ms. Anna Cross, any additional questions?
Just one, Your Honor. Detective McManus, in the location of the Hampton Inn in Longmont, Colorado, how many hotels are in the near proximity to that?
Again, that's relative.
Within a mile radius of the hotel?
The Plaza would be the closest, and that's about a mile, maybe a couple of miles out.
What's the next closest, if you know?
Drive time probably would be the Holiday Inn and the Marriott, the Residence Inns in that area over there.
And how far would that be away from the Hampton Inn?
Those are probably 6 or 7 miles away.
Thank you, Detective. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any
I
rebuttals?
have absolutely no other questions. Thank you very much, sir.
Excuse me. Lawyers, may this witness be released and excused, Ms. Pena?
Yes, from the state, Your Honor.
Certainly, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
Have a good day. I was going to say drive safe and have a good flight. Call your next witness.
State called Brady Blackburn to the stand.
Media man, you may proceed as you need to with the next witness.
Solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to the court today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do. May Lord your hand, you may be seated. Thank you, sir. Sir, if you would, please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Brady Blackburn, B-R-A-D-Y-B-L-A-C-K-B-U-R-N.
Blackburn, in July 2010, what city did you live in?
I was living in Loveland, Colorado.
And what city did you work in?
I was working in Longmont, Colorado.
And how were you employed in Longmont, Colorado?
I was a front desk agent at the Longmont Hampton Inn.
What does that mean?
A front desk agent?
Yeah.
My duties included checking people in, checking them out. As the only one on during the evenings in particular, I would do anything from fixing air conditioners to plunging toilets to running pillows, whatever needed to be done.
Okay. Whatever needed to be done. When something needed to be done, did the hotel employees make a record of it?
Yes.
Okay, and where did they make this record of it?
Our most common record was the logbook, which was kept at the front desk.
And would y'all, being the hotel employees, make that record contemporaneous to the request? And by the request, I mean someone coming saying, I need this done.
Yes. It was a means of communicating with the other shifts.
And was this logbook something that was available to the general public, or was it just for hotel employees?
Only for hotel employees.
And as an employee of the Longmont Hampton Inn back in 2010, were you familiar with the way that these records were kept?
Yes,
And did you yourself take part in keeping these records?
I did.
And if you could tell us a little bit about the logbook, was it something that was just for the person that was working, or was it did it record notes that were passed along to other employees?
Yeah, that was its primary purpose, was to pass along information from shift to shift. Because there wasn't a whole lot of overlap between shifts, we had to keep each other updated on changes that were made, special requests that were permitted, things like that.
It's untitled.
Your Honor, if we're showing opposing counsel what's been previously marked as State Exhibit number 23.
That's 23, thank you, sir. You may approach.
May I approach?
Yes, sir.
I am showing you what has been previously marked as State Exhibit number 23. If you could take a look at that.
Yes, sir.
Don't tell me what it says yet, just tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
Was that document prepared in the normal course of business?
It was.
Is the information contained on that document, was it taken down either contemporaneous to or soon after the request of the communication was made?
It was.
Were the people who made these notes exclusively employees of the Longmont Hampton Inn?
Yes.
Was it the regular practice of the hotel, the Longmont Hampton Inn, to make these records that are on that particular page?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this point, I would tender State's Exhibit number 23, I believe, into evidence as a business record.
Any objection?
Yes, sir. This particular document contains a narrative or documentation. First off, we have no idea whether this gentleman actually took down this information or not. We have a single page of what purports to be a business record, but even if it is a business record, if it contains hearsay, it does not get around the fact that it is hearsay. I can't write in a police report, if I were an officer, here's what a witness told me, and then say that's an exception to the hearsay rule. This is exactly what we have here, so I'm objecting on that basis, Your Honor.
Mr. James?
Your Honor, I think Mr. Clegg is mistaken. There's a qualitative difference between a police report and a business record that was not